Right, so Roscoe, first of all, welcome back. Obviously, a bit of a hectic end to last season, so I imagine the rest was pretty welcome for you.
Yeah, it was nice to take a break after the season ended, refresh the batteries, etc. Yeah, and start to get prepared and organised for this season.
It's been sort of a couple of months now since what was, it's fair to say, a pretty hectic 4 months since January to April. Just reflecting back on it now, I know you've done it a lot with a lot of different people. What are the key takeaways from sort of that January to April period?
The takeaway was, just first and foremost proud of obviously what everyone at the club achieved, and I hope I speak on behalf of everyone when I say that, because I know I get asked that question a lot, but for me it was definitely a huge team effort. So the things I take away from it are exactly what I thought I was going to walk into when I arrived here. Is that there's great people at the club, and I think I highlighted it in a couple of other interviews where it was it was interesting coming back in and just seeing some really great people and great human beings just rocked a little bit. So the bits I take away right now are, it's great to see, smiles back on faces, and and also look at the players, and especially the ones that were here already, playing football the way that they can play football, and obviously more importantly, some of the feedback I get from supporters. Um, there's a real positivity and a buzz around the football club. So I suppose they're probably the key areas that I take away from last year. But as I said to a lot of people at the club now, for me, I don't really hold on to the past too much. Um, where I'm proud of what was achieved, I'm also someone that knows that if you continue to look backwards, you're never going to control what the present is gifting, and what the future can give, again, everyone at the football club.
And there was, like you say, about the whole club collective. There was great photos and videos after that game. You walking across this pitch, them all stood up there on that hill. Just how almost proud in yourself was that. You had about 400 people down here on that final day, and that collective, that club sort of came back together in a way.
Yeah, I think that was probably, you know, the closing sort of section of the chapter. Um, and I think probably the biggest thing I take away from walking back up into the changing room is a sense of relief, as well as a sense of just pure delight that we controlled our own narrative. And I think they're special moments, and I highlighted it before, at the end of last season, that it's really important to celebrate those moments. Um, we definitely didn't win a trophy, but we definitely, won the hearts and of the people in and around here, and who totally just jumped on, the story, and as we all know it now, the Great Escape.
Right, that's enough reflecting on last season. Like you say, we can't live in the past forever. Starting to look ahead to this season, obviously, as is quite common, non-league squads do change and adapt from season to season. We've had a couple of great successes in people stepping up, the likes of Jack. We've also got a couple of others that are working in professional environments. Firstly, for you, how proud does that make you seeing their development, but also how incredible is that for the club that we can almost provide that platform for them to go and excel in the future?
Yeah, I think I put something out on Twitter or X around, obviously, what the average age of the squad was, and it was around 21 years old. Um, and I found it a huge compliment last season that there was a number of professional clubs coming to look at some of the young players that were brought into the football club. Um, as I said before, the players were the heroes last year, and ultimately some of their performances, has meant that they've moved in a real positive direction, and they must take huge credit for that. The club has provided that platform, and to see Jack now sign professional forms at Wycombe Wanderers is excellent. And I'm sure me and everyone at the football club will be seeing where he takes himself. Killian, the goalkeeper, is on trial at Sheffield Wednesday at the moment, hoping to hear some positive news this week or in the coming weeks regarding that. And Glenn Gabriel, although made a cameo appearance for us on the weekend against Marlow, is in quite deep talks with Coleraine professionally in Northern Ireland. So, I mean, I think again it's testament probably to what was achieved, and it's amazing sometimes when football creates a story that, it also creates some real positive outcomes for the players. So, as I said, I'm really, really pleased for all three of them, and as I always say to them, I speak to them all quite regularly. I only wish them every success.
So looking back or looking forward to actually Binfield this season, the first set of almost retained players, if you like, the first sort of 6 and 7 that were officially announced, quite a lot of them was almost the central spine to what you almost created the last 4 months. How important was that to not only get them on board, but also how useful is that then going to be with that transition from last season to this season?
Yeah, it's good. It's really, really positive in the context that, they totally bought into the Binfield way, and even speaking to them about, re-signing for this year was just a real easy conversation. I suppose it's important in the context of they understand sort of my style, and I think that will be helpful for some of the new additions that we are bringing in, and then gelling all that together. I think it's going to be, be a positive squad.
And then we've also brought in a couple of signings that have got real good experience within this league, the likes of Harvey, the likes of Duarte. Just how important is that? You say the young sort of nature of the squad. How important is that to not only have that youthful element, but also that experience, that knowledge of the league?
Yeah, I think probably the outcome of last year has helped, probably attract some players back to the football club, which is nice. And, as I said, that may add that experience to what we need or what is required for a long season. And, Harvey has been at the club before and knows what we're about. So that was, again, a real positive conversation. Duarte's have played at the club before as well, and had some really good experience at Ascot. So again, these guys are coming back to the club, but need to perform and gel in with the rest of the squad. And I am excited to see what both can produce, next season for Binfield Football Club. And I know that there are a few more in the coming sort of weeks to be announced, and I'm also really, really excited for those guys as well.
So we've got that experience side, but I know we touched it before, that youthful element of the team, the developing of people maybe starting their footballing journey or building upon it. Is that the sort of style that you like to go for? Like, say, the young nature of the squad last season, the likes of Reece, the likes of Isaiah, coming into the team and trying to integrate them into the first team element as well? Is that something that almost is a big factor for you?
I wouldn't necessarily say it's a big factor, but what I would say regarding my my sort of style as a coach is, I'm a coach that wants to help and support, and I think that probably resonates to some of the younger players that have come through and developed. And in that context, the young players will get given opportunities, and I think I go back to the platform that Binfield can provide. I think that those youngsters, will be given opportunities. I also think based on the economics of the football club, that's probably where sort of our target audience also falls as well. And I think probably my style of coaching is one that where I believe in myself enough to pass on my knowledge and sometimes my good habits to these young players.
And we're fast approaching that first competitive game, back here in the FA Cup, almost coming towards the end of pre-season now. Just where are we at? How do you assess it? How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I think it's you're talking about some of the retained players and some of the new players, and I think there's always work through pre-season just to manage expectations, and more importantly manage the standards that I want from them when they come to the club, when they represent the football club. So in relation to where we're at, I think we're moving along quite nicely. I'm really pleased with the games that have been organised over pre-season, and for me, results are not necessarily the most important thing for me, but performances are huge. And I was really pleased with how we performed on Saturday against Marlow.
And just finally, look, there was a lot of talk last season, rightly so, about where potentially we could have finished or where we were in the league given the finish this season. It's hard to put expectations on any season, and no one wants specific expectations, things like that. But for you this season, what are you most looking forward to, or what are your expectations into this coming season?
Yeah, it's a really good question, but my answer to that is pretty simple. This is probably the toughest Isthmian South Central League that there has probably ever been, or has been for a very long time. There's a lot of really established football clubs. Hayes and Yedding are a National League side, Kingstonian are a National League side in my opinion, and then add into the mix of an experienced Leatherhead, both Rayners Vale, Rayners Park. These guys are going for it. Add Farnham into the mix. Listen, I could probably continue to name another 3 or 4 with Uxbridge, etc. So in relation to where I see us in the food chain is I want to be a club that goes toe to toe with all of those clubs, and that's the biggest challenge for me. And a lot of that comes down to coaching, the tactics, how we strategically approach each game, and most importantly, I want to compete in every game, and I think that the squad and the club, and the nature of us all, I think that I want to compete and finish as high as we possibly can.